Sometimes the loudest moments in a relationship aren't spoken at all. They're felt in the silence, that space between words, that pause between messages, that quiet when no one's reaching out first. It may seem insignificant to some, but to a man who is emotionally aware, that silence is everything because it reveals something that noise often hides. It shows how a woman lives with herself. Men notice how a woman reacts when there's no conversation, no compliments, no plans, and no attention. Can she sit still in peace, or does she need to fill the silence with performance? Posting stories for validation, texting multiple people just to feel seen, or constantly chasing something so she doesn't have to sit with her own thoughts. You see, silence is a mirror, and a woman's relationship with silence tells a man about her relationship with herself. A woman who is comfortable in her quiet doesn't need attention to validate her existence. She doesn't panic when he's not reaching out immediately. She doesn't perform. She pauses. She reflects. She chooses peace over panic. That self-assured energy is something no perfume can cover and no outfit can replace. But if she becomes restless in silence, a man feels that too. He senses when her self-worth is tied to how much he texts, how quickly he responds, or how much praise she gets from others. And that kind of desperation, that's not attractive. That's not love. That's self-abandonment disguised as connection. Men don't just look at what a woman says, they feel her presence when nothing is being said. Does her energy say, "I'm full," or does it beg, "Please fill me"? A woman who knows how to be silent without being scared, who can be alone without being lonely, that woman doesn't chase, she attracts. Her stillness speaks volumes. And in that stillness, the right man hears her loud and clear. That's the kind of woman he never forgets. Men are wired to observe things they rarely speak about. And one of the most powerful, most telling things they notice without ever bringing it up is how a woman handles rejection, not just romantic rejection, but any kind of dismissal, any form of denial, any closed door she walks into. Because rejection is a mirror, it reveals who we really are when things don't go our way. And trust me, men are watching. He sees how you respond when you're overlooked at work, when a friend pulls away, when someone doesn't validate your effort, or when he himself creates distance. He's not only paying attention to how you treat him when things are good, but to how you treat yourself when things fall apart. Does she crumble when rejected? Does she seek revenge, become bitter, start blaming everyone around her, or try to prove her worth by forcing her presence into places she's no longer welcomed? Or does she pause, regroup, and walk away quietly with her dignity intact? That kind of response, it tells a man everything. Because when a woman doesn't beg to be chosen, when she doesn't lower herself just to stay in someone's life, she shows a strength that can't be faked. She reveals that her identity is not built on how others accept her, but on how she accepts herself. That level of emotional maturity, it's magnetic. It shows a man that she isn't a prisoner to someone else's opinion. She's free. She's whole. And most importantly, she's rare. Rejection is life's way of redirecting us. But the way a woman handles it reveals if she's controlled by fear or guided by faith. If she takes rejection personally, she'll spend her life chasing approval. But if she takes it as redirection, she'll stay in alignment with something far greater. And that's what a man notices. Not the rejection itself, but the recovery. Because her ability to keep her head high after being turned away tells him more about her than any success ever could. Sometimes the most attractive thing about a woman isn't how she wins, it's how she walks away. You might not realize it, but men notice how a woman talks about other women. They're not always vocal about it, but they're listening closely. They're watching your tone, your energy, your words, especially when the conversation isn't about them. Because how a woman speaks about others, particularly other women, says everything about her confidence, her security, and her inner peace. It might seem like harmless gossip to you, throwing shade at another woman's appearance, choices, or lifestyle, but to a man who's paying attention, it's a red flag. He may not tell you outright, but it plants a seed in his mind. He starts to wonder, if she talks like this about her, what does she say about me when I'm not around? When a woman is constantly comparing, competing, or criticizing other women, what she's really doing is revealing her insecurities. And men, especially men who are growing emotionally and mentally, notice this pattern. They might not have the vocabulary to explain it, but they feel it. It's heavy. It's unattractive. It makes them question if you're capable of uplifting energy or if everything you touch eventually turns into tension. On the other hand, when a woman can celebrate another woman's beauty, success, or uniqueness without shrinking, it shows a completely different level of self-worth. A woman who's secure in who she is doesn't need to tear someone else down to feel taller. And that's rare. That's attractive. And also notice how you speak about women who used to be in their life. Exes, co-workers, even his female friends. Are you respectful? Or do you default to jealousy and suspicion? Do you ask questions from a place of curiosity or from insecurity disguised as control? Here's the truth. Men are not just listening to your words, they're feeling your energy. The way you speak about others reveals your lens. If your words are sharp, bitter, and laced with judgment, it reveals unresolved wounds. But if your words are rooted in peace, even when talking about someone who wronged you, it shows a healed, powerful spirit. A woman who can speak life, even in the presence of someone else's success, is a woman who commands respect. She's not threatened by someone else's light because she knows her own can't be dimmed. So yes, he notices every word, every tone, every comment passed when you think he's not really paying attention, and it leaves a lasting impression, not just on how he sees you, but on whether he sees a future with you. Because the woman who speaks life, uplifts others, and guards her words with grace, that's the woman who stands out in a world that's too loud with criticism and too silent with praise. Let your words reflect your strength, not your insecurity. You might think he doesn't care, that he doesn't notice the little details. But here's what most women don't know. Men pay attention to how a woman responds when things don't go her way. That reaction right there in the middle of disappointment, frustration, or unexpected change is where he learns the most about you. Because it's easy to be soft, sweet, and patient when life is flowing your way. When you're getting the text back, when the plans are going as expected, when you're being pursued the way you imagined. But what about when he forgets something? What about when he's late? What about when the conversation doesn't end the way you hoped? That's where your true character speaks louder than anything you say with your mouth. Then, notice how you handle pressure. They notice whether you take every unmet expectation personally, or if you can pause, breathe, and give space for grace. Because whether he's conscious of it or not, he's asking himself one thing: can I build with her? That doesn't mean he expects you to be perfect, emotionless, or disconnected from your feelings. It means he's watching to see if your emotions control you or if you've learned how to process them with maturity. And trust me, emotional maturity is one of the most magnetic traits a woman can have. It's not talked about enough, but it's what separates short-term interest from long-term connection. When a woman can stay centered, when she can express her emotions without making the moment bigger than it is, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she suppresses her feelings, but because she expresses them with wisdom. She doesn't use guilt, manipulation, or silence as weapons. She uses clarity, calmness. He notices whether you explode or explore, whether you punish or communicate, whether you assume the worst or ask for understanding. These small moments are huge signals to a man about the safety of your emotional space. And every man, whether he admits it or not, is looking for emotional safety, not drama masked as passion. The truth is, life won't always hand you what you want. People will disappoint you. He will disappoint you. But what matters more is how you choose to respond when it happens. Do you withdraw your love like a punishment? Do you question your worth? Or do you breathe, reflect, and respond from a place of power instead of pain? Because when a woman can remain grounded in her peace, even when circumstances try to shake her, that's when she becomes a force. That's when she rises above the noise of the world and becomes the kind of woman a man doesn't just want to chase, but respect, protect, and never let go of. So yes, he sees it, the way you respond when things don't go your way. And in that moment, he's not just watching you, he's silently asking himself, can I trust her with my future? Let your reactions reflect the strength of your healing, not the residue of your hurt. You'd be surprised how much a man can pick up on without you even saying a word. And one of the most overlooked things women don't realize, men are constantly noticing, is how she talks about other people when they're not around. You might think it's just casual conversation. You might believe you're just venting, just being real or honest. But the truth is, to a man who's paying attention, the way you speak about others is a direct reflection of how you'll one day speak about him. He's listening when you're talking about your ex. He hears the bitterness, the jabs, the sarcasm, and in the back of his mind, he's wondering, is that how she'll talk about me if things go wrong? He notices how you describe your friends. Are you celebrating them when they're not around or criticizing them? Are you loyal in their absence, or are you airing their flaws for a laugh or a sense of superiority? And yes, he's watching how you talk about other women too. Because if you're always in competition mode, always comparing, always tearing other women down to build yourself up, it tells him something deeper. It tells him that you may not feel secure within yourself. And if you're not secure in you, how can you truly be secure in the relationship? Now, this doesn't mean you have to pretend to be someone you're not. This isn't about being fake or acting like everything is perfect. It's about integrity. It's about choosing to be a woman who builds, not breaks, especially when no one's watching. Because the words you speak carry weight. They reveal more than your opinion. They reveal your character. They show whether you're a person who chooses peace or pettiness, whether you protect what you love or expose what you don't like for attention. And a man who's emotionally grounded, he notices. He listens to how you speak about others, and he measures whether your energy brings calm or chaos, whether your words reflect inner healing or inner insecurity, whether you gossip or grow, whether you vent with accountability or just complain without reflection. Let's be honest. Talking down on others may feel good in the moment, but it never creates connection. What creates trust is when a woman can be honest and graceful, real and respectful, firm in truth and full of wisdom. That's the kind of energy that lasts. Because here's what men rarely say out loud. They are deeply drawn to women who protect their peace. Women who speak life, not just when it benefits them, but as a way of living. Women who choose to elevate even when it's easier to judge. Women who don't need to tear others down to feel seen. So the next time you catch yourself in conversation, ask yourself, if he were listening right now, what would he learn about me? Because chances are he is. Let your words lead the kind of legacy that makes him lean in, not pull away. You may think he's not paying attention to the little things, but let me tell you, how you handle pressure, how you respond when life gets real, that's one of the things men notice most, even if they never say it out loud. A woman's true nature isn't just revealed when everything is going well. It's revealed in moments of frustration, of disappointment, of tension. And when those moments come, he's watching. He's observing how you move through adversity. Do you panic? Do you lash out? Do you blame the world and everyone in it? Or do you breathe, center yourself, and navigate through it with grace and clarity? You see, life is going to test you. And a man knows that if you're going to be by his side, he needs to see how you show up when things don't go your way. Not because he expects you to be perfect, but because he's looking for emotional stability. Someone who can be his peace, not another storm. He doesn't just hear your words, he feels your energy. Are you the type to spiral when things get hard? Or are you the woman who can sit in the storm and still be anchored? Can you communicate calmly in chaos? Can you face conflict with maturity instead of meltdown? Because what men deeply crave, but rarely speak about, is emotional safety, a place where they don't have to walk on eggshells. A woman who can take care of her own emotions without expecting him to fix her every time. That's not coldness, that's emotional maturity. That's the kind of strength that earns respect, not just affection. Let's go deeper. When things break down, maybe it's your career, your family, your friendships, he's watching how you pick yourself back up. Do you complain endlessly or do you create change? Do you need chaos to feel seen? Or can you hold space in silence and still feel powerful? Men notice the woman who doesn't lose herself just because things aren't going her way. They notice the woman who stays calm under pressure, who doesn't let her pain turn into poison, who feels deeply but doesn't let emotions run her life. That balance, that emotional self-regulation, is a rare kind of beauty. It doesn't scream for attention, but it commands deep respect. When you carry yourself with calm, you become unforgettable. When you navigate life with composure and conviction, he sees a future in that because he knows life won't always be easy, but with you, it will feel stable, safe, grounded. And when he sees you respond with wisdom instead of rage, patience instead of panic, responsibility instead of blame, something shifts. He doesn't just like you, he admires you. And that kind of admiration doesn't fade. It draws him in closer, not because you need him, but because he can trust who you are, even in your most unfiltered moments. So don't underestimate the quiet power of emotional control. It doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, it means owning them. It means choosing not to let the chaos outside of you create chaos inside of you. Because a woman who can stay soft and strong at the same time, she doesn't chase love. Love recognizes her and it stays. You might not realize it, but your ability to support his vision, even when it's not fully formed, is something he pays close attention to. A man may never verbalize it directly, but one of the most powerful things he notices in a woman is whether she truly believes in his potential or if she's only present when things are already polished and complete. He sees how you respond to his dreams, especially the ones that are still in their infancy. When he shares an idea, a project, or a goal that hasn't yet materialized, he's watching closely. Are you encouraging? Do you listen with genuine interest, or do you dismiss it because it's not profitable yet? That response matters more than you think, because behind every man is a voice that either fuels him or frustrates him. Now listen, this isn't about stroking egos or becoming someone you're not. This is about understanding how deeply men are wired for purpose. When you affirm his direction, not just his current position, you're speaking to his soul, not just his pride. And that stays with him. When a man is building something, even if it's messy, unclear, or unfinished, he craves a woman who doesn't need him to have it all figured out, but who can still see the fire in his eyes and say, I see where you're going, and I believe in you. That kind of belief, it's rare, it's powerful, and it plants roots in his heart. Men remember the woman who clapped for them when no one else was watching, the woman who spoke life into a vision that hadn't even breathed on its own yet. And not because she was desperate for his love, but because she recognized the power of potential and wasn't afraid to stand beside it while it grew. Some women wait for the results, but the ones who are remembered, they show up in the process. They invest with their presence, their encouragement, their silence when needed, and their wisdom when welcomed. They don't demand that a man become something overnight. They hold space for his unfolding. That doesn't mean abandoning your standards. It means understanding that timing matters, that what you water grows, that being a partner doesn't mean rescuing, it means reinforcing. And make no mistake, he notices the difference. He knows when a woman is only attracted to status, and he knows when she's genuinely drawn to vision. The former disappears when challenges come. The latter, she leans in, she listens, and she reminds him of who he is when he forgets. That kind of support changes everything. It becomes the fuel he didn't know he needed and the anchor that keeps him steady. So don't underestimate the power of your faith in him, your quiet belief, your subtle affirmations. You don't have to solve everything. Sometimes just saying, I see what you're building and I respect it, is more impactful than any gift or gesture. Because a man never forgets the woman who stood beside him before he became what the world now celebrates. That kind of love doesn't chase, it attracts, it earns reverence, and it makes him come back, not because he lost something, but because he finally realized what he had. There is something powerful, almost magnetic, about a woman who knows how to control her emotions. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about being centered, balanced, grounded in such a way that no matter what storm comes, she doesn't allow herself to be swept away by the wind. You see, men notice when a woman can feel deeply without reacting wildly. They pay attention to how you respond when you're frustrated, disappointed, or even betrayed. Do you lash out? Do you spiral into chaos? Or do you take a breath, step back, and handle the situation with poise? That difference, that restraint, is not weakness, it's wisdom. And it's incredibly attractive. Because let's be real, life isn't always going to be pretty. People will test you, push your boundaries, and misunderstand your heart. And when those moments come, emotional discipline becomes your greatest strength, not just for your peace, but for your power. A woman who leads herself emotionally can never be manipulated. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, she doesn't lose herself trying to prove her worth, but she knows who she is. And that energy speaks volumes. Men notice that. Even if they don't say it, they feel it. They see the difference between a woman who reacts and a woman who responds. One is led by her feelings. The other is led by her standards. Here's the truth. When you stop giving emotional access to people who haven't earned your trust, you elevate. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you protect your power. When you stop performing for validation, you become irresistible. Not because you're trying to be, but because you're rooted in self-respect. And let's take it deeper. Sometimes men test a woman's emotional maturity without even realizing it. He'll go silent, he'll pull back, he'll say something careless just to see how you react. And the woman who doesn't flinch, The woman who says, I'll let him sit with his silence while I sit with my standards, she immediately shifts the dynamic. Because men expect drama, they expect breakdowns. What shocks them is a calm woman who refuses to argue over her worth. That's rare, and rare always gets noticed. The world teaches women to fight for attention, but what it doesn't teach is how to walk away in peace, how to keep your dignity when someone tries to trigger your insecurity, how to stay silent when silence is more powerful than explanation. That takes strength. That takes training. And when you master it, the same people who thought they had power over you will start to chase what they once took for granted. Because now you're not reacting, you're observing, you're deciding, you're choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And let's be clear, this isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about learning how to care without collapsing, to love without losing your center, to feel everything and still choose peace. That kind of emotional discipline isn't just noticed, it's respected. And once a man sees that kind of power in you, it haunts him. He remembers the way you didn't fold when he fumbled. He remembers how you didn't scream for closure, how you gave yourself the closure he was too immature to offer. And most of all, he remembers how you didn't let your emotions turn you into someone you're not. That kind of woman doesn't get forgotten. She becomes the standard, the memory, the one that showed him what real grace, strength, and self-respect looks like, all in one. When a woman builds a life so fulfilling, so rich, and so purpose-driven that it doesn't revolve around a man, it creates a shift that is undeniable, not just in how she feels, but in how others perceive her, especially him. You see, most men are used to being the center of a woman's emotional world. They're used to attention that doesn't stop, to women putting their lives on pause just to be available. And for a while, that feeds their ego. It makes them feel powerful. But the moment a woman says, I've got dreams to chase, goals to hit, and a life to live that doesn't wait for breadcrumbs, everything changes. He starts to notice the silence, not the bitter, resentful kind, but the kind that says, I'm not angry, I'm just busy, becoming everything I said I would be. That silence is loud. That absence, it's haunting. Because now, instead of calling or checking in or trying to fix what he broke, she's upgrading her world without him in it. And here's what happens next. He watches. Maybe not with words, maybe not even openly, but he watches through social media, through mutual friends, through the energy you leave behind. He watches the glow up, the peace, the way she walks in alignment with purpose, and it messes with his head because it's the opposite of what he expected. He thought she'd fall apart. He thought she'd break down and beg. He thought he had time. But now, she's no longer waiting. She's creating. She's building. And he's no longer a priority. Not because she stopped caring, but because she started choosing herself. That energy is powerful. That transformation is spiritual. Because the moment a woman chooses herself, the whole atmosphere around her changes. Her conversations change. Her standards rise. Her light returns. Not because he came back, but because she remembered who she is. And here's the irony. When you stop needing him, that's when he starts needing you. When you stop making space for him, that's when he realizes the space you once filled in his life. When you become your own source of joy, you force him to see what he lost. Not just a woman, but a whole world he didn't value. That's why it's not about revenge. It's not about showing him you're better without him. It's about genuinely becoming better, whether he notices or not, because the right people always notice eventually. But by the time they do, you're already far ahead. You've already healed, grown, and evolved past needing validation from the very one who couldn't handle your value in the first place. So don't wait for the apology. Don't wait for the return. Don't wait for closure. Create your life so full of passion and purpose that if he does come back, it's not because you chased, but because you walked so far into your greatness, he had no choice but to follow the glow. Let your life become the proof. Let your peace be the answer. Let your elevation be the only conversation. When a woman finally chooses to stop chasing and starts focusing on her own growth, something profound happens, not just within her, but also in the world around her. She stops being the one who's always waiting, always hoping, always anticipating. She stops giving every ounce of her energy to someone else, especially to someone who has shown no appreciation for it. And the result? She becomes an entirely new version of herself, one that is strong, whole, and beautifully independent. Now, this doesn't mean that she doesn't care or that she's hardened. No, this is about the subtle power that comes with self-respect and self-love. She stops running after the validation of others because she has learned to validate herself. She no longer feels the need to beg for love or affection because she's learned that those things should flow naturally, not be forced. And here's what he notices. That shift is undeniable. For the first time, she becomes the woman who isn't afraid to walk away, the one who no longer feels desperate to make things work at any cost. And here's the most powerful part. He's never seen this version of her before. He's used to seeing her chase. He's used to the late night texts, the calls, the apologies that go unheard. He's used to seeing her show up for him time and time again while her own needs went unmet. But now, she's no longer just showing up for him. She's showing up for herself first. She's investing in her growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She's doing things that fulfill her, that light her soul on fire. She's setting boundaries with grace and moving forward with courage. And let me tell you, when a woman does this, when she focuses on her own self-worth, self-development, and happiness, the energy shifts. That shift becomes magnetic. It pulls people towards her without her even trying. And you know who feels it the most? Him. He starts to realize that the woman he once took for granted is no longer available in the same way. And this time, he can't just come back with a simple apology. He has to show up as the person she deserves. Strong, dependable, and emotionally available. Because when you stop chasing and focus on building your own life, you stop needing anyone else to validate your worth. And when he sees that, it's a wake-up call. He realizes that you no longer need him, but you are someone he can't afford to lose. In that shift in his perception, it's everything. The power that comes from releasing attachment is truly transformational. The more she pours into herself, the more she thrives. The more she invests in her dreams, her health, her future, the less she becomes available to anyone who can't match her energy. And he knows that. He feels that. Because there's nothing more attractive than a woman who is fiercely committed to her own growth and happiness. And the moment he sees that shift in her, he starts to chase. But this time, it's different. This time, he's chasing the woman he should have valued all along. And let's not forget, this isn't about seeking revenge or getting back at him for what he did. This is about living your truth and embracing your power. It's about becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need anyone to complete her, but knows her worth and chooses to share her life with someone who will add to her joy, not take away from it. It's about knowing that you can stand on your own, regardless of what anyone else does or doesn't do. So when he comes back crawling, it's not just because he misses her, it's because he's witnessing the incredible transformation that has taken place. He's seeing her in a light he never knew existed before. And that's when he realizes he's the one who's been left behind. But here's the truth. If he comes back and he hasn't done the work to become the person who deserves her, she's already long gone, living a life full of purpose and self-love. And that's the ultimate power. When you stop needing him, when you stop waiting for him, you start living the life you were always meant to live. And in doing so, you become so radiant, so fulfilled, that those who couldn't see your worth before see it now. So let them crawl, let them chase. Because you're already walking in your purpose and you're already living the life of your dreams. And that's the power of choosing yourself.